How y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about Roman Reigns and Jey Uso and whether you are authorized to talk to other people without the permission of Roman Reigns. First, hit the like button and then also hit subscribe for me if you're not already subscribed. Thank you to everybody who does subscribe to my channel. Thank you kindly. So let's talk about this segment. These segments, because there's more than one. So Jey Uso is getting coffee. Kevin Owens comes up, being Bubba Ray Owens. He comes in and he's talking that yin yang about Jey Uso getting Roman Reigns coffee. He thought he was making jokes. He thought it was a joke, and Jey Uso was rightly offended. Like, you talking about my family, Oos? Like, you think my family is a joke, Oos? And then Kevin Owens like, nah, man. Like, we're gonna be partners. I just thought that I would come over and say things to you for no reason and be a jerk for no reason. So Jay is like, all right. So segment goes, we go a little bit into the future, fast forward maybe a couple of seconds, maybe a minute or two. And Jey Uso is having a conversation with Kayla Braxton. Kyla Braxton, what's her name? She's very short. Anyway, she's being a douche. She's like, well, Roman Reigns is making you do things, and he's going to kick you out of the family if you don't do things. And it looks like Paul Heyman has a better spot in the family than you. And Jay's like, you too, Oos? But this segment was actually pretty good because he's basically said family is, forever. Family is more important than business. What happens to Daniel Bryan, who he says is his friend, is not personal. It's just business. He did what he had to do. And then Paul Heyman shows up. And Paul Heyman is like, did Roman Reigns authorize this interview? And I was like, he can't talk to anybody else. So Heyman whisks this man away, full grown man who's in his mid-30s from my understanding, gets whisked away to Roman Reigns. And segment is Paul Heyman is telling Jey Uso, like, look, if you're going to talk to anybody else, you're going to do interviews, you got to ask Roman first. You got to run it by Roman first. Run it by. You got to get, and Jey correctly repurposes that sentence, like, I have to get permission. And then Heyman's like, yes, I'm glad you understand. So then he goes and gets Roman because Jay's not allowed in Roman's office. He might touch something. So he's not allowed in Roman's office. Roman comes out of the office. And this was absolutely hilarious as Roman explains to Jay that he can't talk to anybody without his express written permission. He can't do interviews. He's like, what are you trying to do? Tell your story? He's like, no. What story are you trying to tell? Who are you talking to? Okay, so Roman tells this man, full grown man, that if he needs to run all his interviews and everything by him, or he needs to talk to Paul, whichever one is neater, whichever one is closer. He needs to ask Paul or ask him. If he can't find him, he needs to ask Paul. And Jay's just looking incredulous, like, I can't believe this. Like, he's a gopher. Like, he's a straight up gopher. So then Roman gets to the meat of the matter. He's like, what's this stuff about Kevin Owens? And Jay's like, ain't no big deal, Kevin Owens. Just being a big mouth. Saying things. Bubba Ray Owens, saying things. And then Roman's like, I don't like that. You gonna let him disrespect you? If he disrespect you, he disrespecting me. If he disrespect me, he disrespecting our family. What you gonna do about that? Jay like, I'll handle it. He already knows. And then he's like, go talk to Adam Pearce. He tells Paul Heyman. Well, he gets mad at Paul Heyman first because Paul Heyman didn't tell him about this whole Kevin Owens stuff, or this Kyla Braxton stuff. Paul Heyman is supposed to know things. That's why Paul Heyman is there. He's the knower of things. So he has to go know things. He's letting Jay do whatever he wants. He got to have a tighter rein on Jay. Jay can't just be going off talking. He can't do that. What is he, a human being? So he can't do that. So Jay, you have hit Paul Heyman is like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. He tells Paul, we're gonna have to handle this Kevin Owens thing. Jey Uso is gonna have to handle this Kevin Owens thing. And so they set up the match, Jey Uso versus Kevin Owens. And again, partners are fighting. Partners are fighting. At least this time it makes sense. At least this time it makes sense. And this is why it makes sense. Kevin Owens wants to be tag team partners with Daniel Bryan. He said that during his whole montage and whatever the stupid show was, the KO show. He wants to be Daniel Bryan's tag team partner. And he naturally would be upset that Daniel Bryan got his ass beat by Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. You know, even though Roman Reigns didn't actually physically beat him up, he got beat up because of Roman Reigns. So it makes sense that Kevin Owens would be in this position as sort of, even though it would have made more sense for Kevin Owens, instead of making snide remarks about Jey Uso, for him to walk up to Jey Uso and punch him in the face. Like, I don't understand. Like, we could have cut a lot of the talking out just by Kevin Owens attacking Jey Uso at catering and hitting him in the head like a pan or something, and telling them we're fighting tonight because of what you did to Daniel Bryan. Then we would have went into the match really hot, you know. But, you know, they decided to go the talking route because that's what wrestling is now. It's just talking segments. You know, it's like 4 matches and like talking segments. So they set up the match, and then Kevin Owens has a promo before the match. And this I found to be very, very interesting. It makes sense that they're in this situation because Kevin Owens wants to be partners with Daniel Bryan. But they're also in this situation because Jey Uso is not his own man. He's not being, you know, he's a whipped dog at this point. So Kevin Owens kind of talks about that, where he says, like, look, I've done some horrible things for my family. This is Kevin Owens going way back to, reaching all the way back to, like, 2015, where he said he was a prize fighter and he does all these things for his family. That's why he turned on Sami Zayn. And it's all about being in the top spot. You got to be the top guy. It's all about that. It's all about his family. That's sort of been the lane of the Kevin Owens character for a long time, is he does it for his family. So he's like, I did a lot of horrible things for my family. But I did those things. I made those decisions. I'm my own man. I own up to everything that I've done. And, you know, I don't do things because other people tell me to. And that sort of is a stark contrast between Kevin Owens and Jey Uso. Jey Uso is a heel because Roman Reigns wants him to be, which is very strange. You know, like, I don't know if I've ever seen a situation like that before. Maybe there is one. I think the Chavo and Eddie situation, which his storyline kind of mimics a little bit. It really just popped into my head. I really just thought about it. But for people who didn't know, there was a WCW storyline where Chavo and Eddie were feuding. And it was basically a story where if Chavo lost, he had to be Eddie's gopher, essentially. And I think this is the storyline that drove Chavo crazy, when he was going to shave his own head or something like that. And then he started walking around with the hobby horse and all that type of stuff. Now, I might be wrong, because like I said, my WCW is not that good. But I do remember the Chavo-Eddie feud, where Chavo ended up being sort of Eddie's manservant. But this is sort of a similar storyline. In fact, it's damn near the same storyline, except for their cousins. And it makes sense that, you know, Kevin Owens, as a man who makes bad decisions, a bad man, quote unquote, is kind of miffed at, if you're going to be a bad man, just own it, you know? And Jey kind of did own it earlier. He kind of said, look, it's not personal, but, you know, I had to do what I had to do. But he didn't really have to, you know? He could have disagreed. He could have just gotten himself kicked out of the family. You know, he had options. But I like that. You know, I like that Kevin Owens was like, set himself apart from Jey Uso. But I really would have liked for him to cut that promo to Jey Uso. It's like sometimes, you know, when you're having like a basic backstage promo, it's fine. But some things hit harder when the other person gets a chance to react. And that's a line, or that's a line of thinking that really would have hit harder had he said it directly to Jey Uso in the ring. Like they were standing in the ring together, and he was like, "I've done a lot of horrible things. I've turned my back on my best friend. I've done blah 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 blah. But I did it because I wanted to. You are a coward. You do things that people tell you to do. You don't think for yourself. I don't respect you." You know, that would have been a completely different ball game. And then Jey Uso could have told the story physically. You know, how, yeah, that matters. It matters to be able to make your own decisions. And, I like that. I just don't like the way they did it. Because I don't like that they did it in the backstage segment with Kevin Owens talking to goddamn Kyla Braxton or whoever the hell he was talking to. I didn't like that aspect of it. So they have the match and Jey Uso wins because Roman distracted Kevin Owens. Apparently, Jey Uso needed help to beat Kevin Owens, but not Daniel Bryan. So we end the show with Jey Uso and Roman Reigns holding their arms up. They're together. The family is together. They could have got something really out of this. Instead of this, for starters, I'm really off. I'm off the whole tag team partners fighting stuff. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of that shit, man. Like I said it the night that Survivor Series was announced. I said it's going to be a month of partners fighting, and that's all we've seen. It's partners fighting, partners arguing. It's just I don't get it. Like, why can't we just have a normal team? And just have normal teams. Like when I do the match commentaries and you see all like the heels or the babyface, even if they may distrust each other or they kind of look at each other kind of slant-eyed or suspiciously, they're kind of cutting their eyes back and forth about all the cheating faces they see around. And then you have the glory days of the heels who are very loud and expressive, and they love to be together because this guy is going to be the guy who's going to lead us to the future, and this guy is going to be a top specialist, top technician on our team, and this guy's going to be a phenomenal athlete. Blah 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 blah. We can't possibly lose. But it seems like the teams now are just people who were fighting 2 weeks ago, who now have to coexist. And then you get nothing. I'm going off that. I'm not going down that road again. I've already gone down the road too far. But this story is developing nicely. It's very strange that they would use the whole you have to run the interviews by me thing, because that's kind of a WWE thing, right? Where you can't do outside. They really are not supposed to do outside interviews without running it by WWE first. So that's kind of that's kind of interesting that they would go that route. That WWE kind of schedules these interviews, that they have certain interviews that they let them do, certain sites that they let them do interviews for in relation to WWE, I should say. I'm not so sure if it's like other things. I know Dolph Ziggler did like the Andrew Yang podcast or something like that. And I'm pretty sure he didn't get WWE permission to do that. But then there's other things where you have to call WWE their talent division or something like that in order to book a talent to do an interview or something like that. So it makes sense that it's very funny, and it makes sense that Roman will take that kind of control. Next is going to be Jey Uso can't have a Twitch account without Roman Reigns' permission. Next is going to be, Roman wants a piece of Jey Uso's Cameo accounts. Oh, what you over there selling? You got a Pro Wrestling Tees account that I don't know of? You disrespecting the family. So I saw people who was like, who was saying basically Roman Reigns is a mob boss, and he kind of is. He's also more of a king than I say, but a mob boss is a king anyway. But this is interesting. We're gonna see if Jey Uso is gonna start owning up his heeldom, and I'm not interested in the whole what does this mean for Team SmackDown. I don't care, man. It's, to be quite honest, doesn't Jey? Well, I think Jey did have permission to be on the team. He needs Roman. Can I go outside? Can I go outside? Oos. I want to go shoot some hoops. I don't know, man. But I like it. This storyline, there's things that I would have done better that I think would have hit harder if they'd been done differently. But I think that what they're doing is very good. It's very cerebral, and I'm enjoying it. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, hit subscribe for me. Thank you. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.